if we want to understand what destroyed the Hebrews, it's easy to answer. It was idols, not their enemies, but idols. And the strange part about it is that the Hebrews did this because they didn't want to have a relationship with God. They wanted a God who was going to give them what they wanted and what they thought they needed. They didn't want a God who was going to give them what was best for them. And they didn't want a God who was going to say, I want you to love me, because it's not about love. It's about cause and effect. Well, what I mean is this. The cause is something I do to the idol. The effect is something the idol does for me. Now, the idea of an idol is that an idol is like a machine, very much like a machine. If you hit the right buttons, if you have the right things running in the machine, then when you try to make the machine do something, it does it because you've done the right procedures. So, like if you have a bicycle and you want your bicycle to run, you make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. The wheel's on tight, the bolts are on tight, the brakes are on properly, everything is right. And when you get on it and you crank it, it should run. If it's not running, it means you need to adjust a chain somewhere. You need to put some oil on it. The trick is with a bicycle that a bicycle is a machine. And as a machine, it responds to you taking care of it and setting it up the way it's supposed to be. That's the way idols are. Now, that's not the way God is. God is not a machine, not even close to being a machine. He's someone. Now, with God, you can't like say, oh, well, I'm going to bring this to God, and I'm going to do this when I come before him. I'm going to talk in this way, and I'm going to ask these things, and then I'll get what I want, because that's not the way God works. So how does that then work? What does idolatry do? Well, let's use some examples, okay? Dagon, one of your idols that the Hebrews ended up worshiping. If you come to Dagon and you want Dagon to do something for you, you have to do something for Dagon. So you bring food as an offering to Dagon, or you sing or worship before Dagon, or you present gold to Dagon, or you build Dagon a nice house, like a temple, or you build your idol of Dagon in exactly the right way, and you put gold on it, and you put pearls around its neck, and you worship and bow before it 100 times, and you say the right words over and over again, Almighty Dagon, Almighty Dagon, Almighty Dagon. And you think that by doing all of those things, that's going to concentrate spiritual power, and it's going to release Dagon's power so that you'll have good crops. Well, there's a trick to idols. The Old Testament clearly says that idols are not real. So the Old Testament teaches that idols are simply a block of wood or a piece of rock, and that's all they are. They cannot see, they cannot hear, they cannot speak. However, Satan and his demons see those idols, and when they see people who are worshiping those idols, Satan and his demons use the people's worship so that those people can fall into slavery to Satan. Let me give you an example. My daughter's son, when he was 3 years old, we were together at a place, and we were in this place, and the television was running, and I had the remote control, and the remote control was next to me on the chair. And the little boy was like 3 years old. And so I said, David, come here. And so he came up to me, and I said, okay, David, touch my nose. He touched my nose. I hit the remote control, and the TV went off. He was like so shocked. So I said, touch my nose again. He touched my nose again. I hit the remote control, the TV went on. So David touched my nose again, the TV went off. He touched my nose again, the TV went on. Then he touched my nose again, the TV went off. Then he touched my nose again, the TV went off. Well, after a minute of this, I got kind of tired of this. So I said, okay, David, we're done. And David touched my nose, nothing happened. David touched my nose, nothing happened. David touched my nose and nothing happened. And they pulled back down, whack, right into my nose. Ow. And my sister, who was standing there cutting up vegetables, said, serves you right, Bob. And she was right, of course. I shouldn't have been doing that. But David thought there was something magical about my nose and the TV set. There had nothing to do with the TV set. It's a remote control. But David didn't know that. That's how demons use idols. What demons do with idols is demons encourage people to worship idols, to bring things to idols, to bow before idols, to say certain prayers before idols. And they're doing that thinking that somehow they are pleasing the God. Somehow the God is hearing them. The God's responding to what they've done. That's not what's happening. Demons are listening what the people are saying, and demons are sometimes doing what they ask. You know, you can't give a demon something. Do you realize that? There's nothing you can give a demon that a demon wants. All a demon wants is to see human beings not loving God. That's all demons want. They want to see human beings not loving God. And if a human being doesn't come to God for crops, if a human being doesn't come to God so that his wife can have a baby, so a human being doesn't come to God so that they will have all that they need with money, a human being doesn't come to God so that they can be protected from their enemies. If a human being will go to a dead idol, which is just a piece of rock or it's a piece of wood that's been painted and has a gold bracelet or necklace on it, if a human being tries to get everything from there, the demon knows that human being is not going to love God. And if the human being's not going to love God, that human being's going to hell. Right? So see, what a demon's going to do is a demon is going to encourage people to worship idols, but the idols aren't doing anything. They're going to encourage people to come to idols, but the idols aren't doing anything. They're going to encourage people to trust in idols, but the idols can't do anything, but demons can. And so demons will do the things that the people are asking the idol to do. And the prayer means nothing. And the incantation means nothing. And the incense means nothing. And the gifts that are given to it means nothing. Demons don't need any of those things. But demons will respond so that you will not love God. That's the goal, not to love God. See, that's their goal for you. Well, once we understand this, wow, that changes everything. Because now we understand that sometimes the demons would give people what they want. You're praying for rain. First, you pray to God for rain. Oh, God, give us rain. God says, I'm not going to give you rain because you're not loving your wife. You're beating your wife. I won't give you rain until you stop beating your wife. I want to protect my daughter. And you're not protecting her. I have to do it. Okay, so now what do? God is not going to give me rain. So then I go to Dagon, or I go to Molech, or I go to Baal, or I go to Asherah, and I bring a gift to Asherah, and I do incantations before Asherah, and I pray to Asherah, and I sing songs to Asherah, and I bring incense to Asherah, and I make sacrifices to Asherah, and it rains because the demons allow it to rain. Of course, the demons have to ask God permission for that. Demons can't do anything without asking permission from God. God gives his permission, and the demons cause it to rain. Now I think, oh, Asherah did that. Oh, whoa. And then this is the prayer that I used. And this is the food that I gave her. And this is the clothing I put on the statue. And now I think that I figured out how to get Asherah to work. And the next time, same thing happens. But the third time when I pray, it doesn't happen. Oh. So then I go to, we'll say Molech. He's really bad. So I'll go to Molech and same thing. Songs and incense and gifts and incantations and bowing and bowing and bowing and saying the same thing over and over again. And it rains. Whoa, it works. I do it again. It rains again. It works. Third time, it doesn't rain. I'm just making up the numbers, but that's the way the demon's going to work. Now, well, what do I do now? Oh, you have to do more. You have to cut yourself with a knife, and you have to put blood when you give your offering. You have to mix your own blood on it. It works. It rains. Next time, it doesn't rain. So they goes, well, what do I do now? Oh, you have to take the blood of one of your children. worked when I gave my blood, so I'll try it. And then you give the blood of one of your children. And it rains. You're like, oh, it works. Now I've got this thing to do, and this thing to do, and this thing to do, and this thing to do. And one of them is I have to mix the blood of my blood and my children's blood, and I mix that in with the sacrifice, and then it will rain. And then the next time it doesn't rain. And you say, Molech, we are losing our crops. Our crops are all going to die. The wheat's going to die, and we're all going to starve. What do you want from us? And you say, I think I need to give a sacrifice of my oldest son. And that's exactly what they did. They would take their sons and they would tie them up and they would stick them in the fire and burn them to death. Yes, they did that. Because they wanted to satisfy Molech. And the demons who are watching them do this, they say, yes, we've got them now. They really don't love God. They hate God so much, they're willing to sacrifice the children that God has given them so they can get what they want. Oh my gosh. And so they sacrifice their children. It happened all the time in the Old Testament. Kings who were in rebellion against God in the Old Testament often did this. You read about it again and again. So they sacrifice their children. And now what do? They're caught. Well, when you sacrifice your children, in your mind, in your heart, you're burning a bridge before you. You are taking a step that's going to be hard to undo. And that's exactly what happens. Now they're idolaters. And now they're stuck with Molech. They can't come back to Yahweh in their hearts and minds, because if they come back to Yahweh, he's going to punish them for killing their children. So what we're going to do, we just have to keep following Molech. But Molech stops helping us. And after a while, a crazy, wild religion has just built up. And this crazy, wild religion is destructive and hateful and vicious and nasty. Why? Because the demons want people to become more and more addicted to coming to them and less interested in loving the God of the Bible, Yahweh. Okay, so now I have this idea. What is idolatry? Idolatry is people doing activities in order to get a God, like a machine, to do what they want. You can't do that with God. God gives you what's best according to his knowledge. He knows everything. But that's not going to be the way demons are going to work. Demons are going to do whatever they can to keep you from loving God. And that means they're going to have you do things which are against God in every way, so that you will never want to come back because you're afraid of God. The Canaanite and their religion, not only did they worship these idols, but they had a lot of really bad practices beyond even killing their children. Probably the most famous is very, very common, talked about all the time in the Old Testament, and that is temple prostitutes. People came to the temple as if it were a house of prostitution, and there at the temple they would have sex with female, the men would have sex with female or male prostitutes, and I guess the women would come. I'm not really sure about this one. I've never read anything about it, but I am assuming that women would come for the same thing, for male prostitutes, and they would have sex with them there at the temple. And in doing that, they believed that there was a spiritual energy that was released through the passion that they would experience and would give them the power they were looking for. It's extremely common, happened all the time. This is why God ended up destroying Canaan. That's why God chased out all of the Canaanites from the land and killed those who refused to leave, that Joshua was in charge of. We talked about that before. Why did God punish them? Well, one of the major reasons was because they committed this sexual sin again and again and again every day. So this idea of the temple being a place of prostitution, which is disgusting and unbelievable, that was a major part of like Canaanite idolatry. And because of that, it made it really, really easy for the Hebrews to fall into the sin, because it had that lure and attraction for the Hebrew men of going to the temple of Baal, or going to Molech's temple, or going to Asherah's temple, and having sex with a temple prostitute and getting spiritual power from it. And that's death. You can see how dangerous and seductive that would be, literally. So when you think about idolatry, recognize the fact it was a powerful, powerful force. It's ruled by Satan. The idols are not anything. They're not gods. There are no such things as gods, but there are demons. The demons trick the people into thinking that these activities that they do in order to, like the incense, the prayer, the chanting, all of these things they do to try to get something from the God, they're tricked into thinking that those things are actually good, and they're not. They're useless, but they don't know that. And so what ends up happening is that people they burn their bridges behind them with Yahweh, they think anyway, and they're caught in slavery to Satan and his demons.